Hi there, thanks for tuning into Album ReBrews. Please note, we do drink while recording this podcast, and if you choose to drink along at home, we encourage you to do so responsibly. Enjoy the episode. Cheers.
Hey, welcome to Album ReBrews. It's a podcast where we pair our favorite drinks with our favorite albums. I'm Logan.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Zach, and this week on Album ReBrews, we're brewing a very good album. It's going to be Talon of the Hawk by the Front Bottoms. It's their fourth album coming out in 2013, and it is best paired with a Tecate Tallboy.
Let's get into it. I'm gonna add a little bit of lime.
A very important part of the Tecate experience, which I was not previously aware of, but Logan put me on to, is squeezing a healthy wedge of lime into your beer.
I will explain why also.
Oh, please do.
One time at Shuba's, which is a venue in Chicago, I was seeing some friends' bands play. And I ordered a Tecate, and the guy just put a lime in it, and it changed my life. He just, a wedge of lime squeezed into the opening of the can.
It's a classy move.
Classy move, really good.
I agree.
I don't think that you should have a Tecate any other way.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through a couple of tracks, a couple bits of lyrics, a couple bits of music that we think really embody this album, and the Front Bottoms just kind of as a whole. And Zach, you were kind of leading this discussion since this was the album that you presented. So you picked a couple tracks that you think are really important to talk about, and we're just going to kind of start there.
Yeah. I like that we all had some interesting thoughts in this first tune, Au revoir, if I'm saying it right.
It's French.
Au revoir.
I don't know what it means.
Well, how appropriate.
And I like, it's like a minute and a half tune. And it's got like 3 stanzas that just repeat, and he's just changing the word for goodbye to like 3 different languages. And it's so simple, but he's also saying a lot of meaning in it.
It's kind of silly. I remember listening to this and being like, like, that's so goofy. I mean, you'll hear this, but he's kind of just, it's like him and this girl just like patronizing each other about not knowing French or not knowing Spanish or not knowing about rock and roll.
Well, and I read a couple articles that it's deeper than that. It's like, oh, you don't really know what I mean. Like, you don't really know what goodbye means. And it's like, because he's, yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, the thing that I was going to say is the lyrics change from,
Logan has had 2 regular sized Tecates and is working on his Tallboy now.
The words change. You probably don't even know what that means to you don't understand what that means.
Yeah.
And I think that's the poignant part.
Yeah. So we selected a little timestamp to reference, but there's this really awesome part of the song where it goes from being pretty repetitive, pretty just kind of upbeat, to where it really gets into the meat of it.
Say, adios, adios. I bet you think I don't know what that means. Adios, adios. I bet you think I don't know what that means. Rock and roll.
Notice the change in the verbiage, Logan, that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's kind of cool,
because it
right?
kind of starts off with he's saying au revoir is kind of how he says it, which is very Americanized. Yeah. Anyway, but he says like it seems like he's talking to this girl and says you probably don't understand what that means, or you probably don't know what that means. And then she responds by saying adios, and he's like, you think I don't know what that means? And then rock and roll. You don't understand what that means. It's very interesting. I didn't know this. I didn't notice that.
This is a fun little song. It's a fun little opener.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great opener.
Yeah.
It's like if you, I have not listened to this album in full before today. Full disclosure.
Oh wow! I was gonna ask you guys about that in the intro. I forgot.
I hadn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard bits and pieces of the front bottoms, here and there, and I'll talk about that more. But I think this is a perfect introduction. Like, oh hey, who are the front bottoms? What's this album gonna feel like?
They're
You play this.
a little goofy, a little sad.
A little goofy, a little sad, a little screamy,
Yeah.
a little headbangy, a little gang vocals-y. I personally did not have a lot of experience with the front bottoms. I'm curious what the case is with you guys. Zach, you seem to have had the most experience. You own this album on vinyl. You picked it.
So it's a funny anecdote. So my girlfriend of 5 years, we started seeing each other, and she had a front bottom sticker on her laptop. And I'm like, I should get into these guys so I have something to talk about.
This is a woman with taste.
Well, I hadn't ever listened to him either.
Oh, yeah.
So I full discography, got super into him.
Just for your girlfriend.
And then I found out she just got the sticker from free somewhere. She doesn't even like
God.
the band. And now they're one of my favorite bands from my college years. When I listen to them, I think of junior year. So it's so funny.
I love that. Oh, I love that was your story.
Mine is not as good. we used to make fun of the front bottoms when I was in, I don't know, they were popular when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And they were a band that people would mock because the singer is whiny. And I asked my younger sister if she had a front bottoms phase recently when Zach mentioned this album.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I used to listen to them unironically. And I was like, they're a band that people listen to ironically?
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And I think part of that is just because they've become synonymous with that emo sound.
Yeah.
And
totally.
Yeah.
I think as the forebearers of the genre, you don't become iconic without also becoming a little bit of
a meme.
A meme, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, before this album, I was kind of like, all right, I'll listen to the front bottom.
Right. It's insane. I mean, I was trying to do my research to prep for this, and I was Googling are the front bottoms ... because we're in a climate right now where there's a lot of allegations of sexual assault, there's a lot of allegations of racism, and I wanted to make sure that we were talking about bands that we had morals that we agreed with. So I was trying to, suss them out, see if they were good folks. And full disclosure, they do seem to be. But when I typed are the front bottoms ... the first result was Midwest emo. And I think that goes to show how heavily they really influenced that sound, that kind of whiny, pining, group vocals, head banging, riffalicious sound.
What was the Google answer? Was it yes or no?
No.
I'm gonna find out right.
Absolutely not. They're from New Jersey.
They're from New Jersey.
But yeah, you see it reflected in Midwest emo, you see it reflected in emo happening on the West Coast. You look at Mom Jeans, they're huge right now. And, there's a lot of trumpet riffs and stuff like that on this album that are so much, I don't want to say replicated because they're not the exact same, but it's got to be a reference.
Well, the trumpet tone, which was recorded in a bathroom, I found out.
Very fun.
And a lot of the acoustic guitar reminds me a lot of Neutral Milk Hotel, which is very folk pop, folk punky.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not to be not like other girls, but I'd like to consider myself a pretty good connoisseur of in indie emo kind of music, but I didn't realize how influential they were, and I didn't listen to them, and didn't realize how much of the music I like that they influenced.
You're welcome.
To speak to the are they Midwest emo point?
Yeah.
When this album finished, Spotify started auto playing related artists, and the ones that came up immediately after were Prince Daddy and the Hyena,
oh Jesus,
Hot Mulligan, Jeff Rosenstock. It was as soon as this album ended, everyone that has been influenced by them started playing.
Yeah.
And it's they're a big deal because of the genre that they haven't created, but have influenced.
Yeah, have definitely become like a poster child for. It's like, is this Midwest emo? And then you come across all these like Midwest bands, and it's not, but it is.
It just so happens that everyone who lives in the Midwest decided to write the same kind of music.
I mean, there's nothing better to do here.
All right. So our
Opening title track.
Skeleton, we don't really care for as a group.
It's cute.
We talked about this a little bit. Well, okay, I think this plays into like the front bottoms are a meme kind of thing. Is like some of their lyrical decisions are just like goofy.
Oh, I love it.
It sounds like a diary entry half the time.
It does.
Or like you're telling your friends
it's written
like
a
while
country
you're drunk.
song. Like everything he's talking about is happening to him or had happened to him.
Yeah.
Except he's not talking
It's
about a
cold
tractor. He's talking.
outside and I have a freezy pop and my teeth are frozen. It's like that's what it sounds like. I don't think those are actual lyrics, but
No,
maybe they
I was
are.
fooled.
They could be. We could write a front bottom song.
But we did think that some of the lyrics in Skeleton were very cute. Again, like this was my first pass at the album, and I was listening, and there's a bit where let me pull it up real quick.
This white frame, it's all that I got left. 'Cause not even you chew through my bones. I got very strong bones.
I got very strong bones. It's adorable.
It's such a good.
And then there's a second part of the song that we really liked, talking about, someone being inescapable. And I'll play that right now.
Who was I kidding? I can't get past you. You are the cops. You are my student loans. You are a head shaped hole in a sheetrock wall. You are the pain I feel. You are the stud in the wall.
Relatable.
Relatable. King of metaphors.
Student loans.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. But I really do love that energy, especially in songwriting. I love, I'm going to make you guys talk about Jens Lekman, but...
We'll get there.
Oh, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
But again, like hyper autobiographical, to the point where like there's a song by him entirely about like his hairstylist.
Amazing.
And the way he loves when she cuts his hair. and I think that's so charming. It's like just being literal for the sake of being literal.
I like that you pointed out that there's some motifs throughout this album, and one of them is the trumpet part.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else to say about that.
Just that it feels like a brush painting over a lot of the album, and it kind of oh my god, my art school is showing, but like to have that trumpet with that tone painted over multiple songs, it feels like I don't know, a la like Picasso's Blue period. It kind of ties.
Yep, I know what that means exactly.
It ties these songs to this album, to this point in their career, to this like sort of musical moment.
To me, and I have a less sophisticated metaphor.
Yeah.
In Suicide Squad, they say, "What is this? Some type of Suicide Squad?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh!"
And you're like, "Oh my god, that's the one!"
The name of the
So
movie.
when I'm like hear a motif repeated through the album, I'm like, "Oh,
Oh, that's the guy.
oh, that's the guitar lick." Like,
You know what though? The Blue period part makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
It is very indicative of like where they were at this point.
Absolutely.
They were like, we're gonna put trumpets in folk emo.
Yeah.
And then everyone after that said, we're gonna do that too.
Absolutely. And I mean, you take that over to, I think of like Panic at the Disco, they have an album that's very like hippie. You think Pretty Odd. It's like hippie. We smoke a lot of weed, very gay. And then you go to A Fever You Can't Sweat Out and it's very like Baroque. It's very theatrical and it genuinely feels like, I mean, this doesn't do it to the same degree, but they feel like artistic kind of movements or periods. You talk about cubism, you talk about modernism, postmodernism, I don't know, things like that are just big words that people like to use to describe aesthetics. And that really can be tied to not just visual art, but music too.
oh yeah, like there's that like alternating guitar, like the guitar lick is just like two notes alternating on two different strings.
Yeah.
And there's like 5 songs the album that use this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, there it is again, like do 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 do.
And it helps. It makes it so cohesive and familiar. Like you come back to this album probably after years and years and think like, oh yeah, that's Talon of the Hawk. Like that's what that sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact: this was almost the name of the album. Swear to God, the devil made me do it.
Really?
Yeah, it's the first tune they wrote on the album,
Oh.
and it sounds so much like that brand new album, The God.
Oh, Devil and God are
Yeah,
reasons.
like it gives me that same vibe, but like way different music. Obviously,
One of the few things I should have done more homework. One of the few things I did read is that the title of this album came from like the lead singer drawing a picture of a pocket knife like in a journal while they were on a tour bus. And he was like, I don't know. I just think like pocket knives are cool. So he was drawing pocket knives and wrote the name Hawk is based off of a character in the TV show Twin Peaks. There's this Native American police detective who's one of like the side characters, and his name is Hawk, or his nickname is Hawk or whatever. And he writes Talon of the Hawk underneath the name, the drawing of the pocket knife. And then he took it to the studio when they were trying to decide on album names, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's cool. Okay, we'll do that."
Okay, sick. I think pocket knives are pretty neat.
that's how they like named the whole album. Every song has like a goofy reasoning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll get there, but like Lone Star is from a beer they just like to drink.
Yeah,
Big silly goose content.
just goofy boys.
Yeah.
There is one part in Swear to God that we're kind of talking about, like the trumpet, and that's a really well painted portion of this album's canvas.
I swear to God, the devil made me do it. It's a shame the bad habits are the hardest ones to break.
Delicious.
Ba-da-da.
Just in the back.
So nice. This
Little trumpet, little trumpet. Sets the mood for the album.
little stabs.
It's
Yeah.
really delicious.
I'm scared to talk about this next one.
I am too. This is like
We have to-
probably this is the biggest one.
I think it's too big for us.
we can't talk about it. Okay.
We're just so little. Zach, you made a really you made a good note saying, you know, how big this song is and how much weight it carries because it's the most played song on Spotify.
I'm
for
not
Front
good at math.
Bottoms.
How many zeros is a million?
6 total.
So 37 million.
It's the population of California.
Sure. Let's get some references.
Yeah.
Let's get some scale here.
Population of California is 39 million. So
Damn.
that's
Wow.
That's
basically
everybody there listen to this, dude.
everyone in California. Honestly, probably.
Well, okay. I was talking earlier about how I didn't realize that I knew pieces of this album before, you know, listening to it front to back. And I mean, big surprise. Twin Size Mattress is one of those songs that I didn't realize I had heard and like knew portions of. And I'm going to get real Gen Z on you, but there's a lot of Front Bottoms music being used on TikTok. Especially and this is a weird genre of internet content, but there's a lot of kind of like younger Gen Z folks who use Front Bottoms music as sort of this like dramatic soundtrack. This very like they'll kind of do the like voiceover or like mouth along to it or like mime with it or make it very, I don't know, like deep. Especially I've seen Twin Size Mattress. We're gonna talk about Lone Star. I've seen Lone Star, and it's sad. It's not sad, but seeing kids still find weight in this stuff. Seeing like a 16-year-old kind of sing along to like when they prayed to God you would change. It's like fuck. Like
Oof.
kids are still going through it.
You just wait. You 16-year-old.
Did you were like in competitive speech and like forensics?
I was.
Were people crazy about Car Radio by 21 Pilots?
Yeah, I was in that.
Yeah, okay,
I was in that
that's what I was
subsection
gonna
of
say.
people.
Is it's like the people our age that were crazy about Car Radio. Well, I'm not sure how I'm trying to phrase the TikTok generation.
yeah.
Twin Size Mattress is their car radio.
The little TikTok I've used or seen my girlfriend use,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of Law Dispute, which is also
Oh.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
ooh, like
Yeah, it's like when did the teens get taste?
That's when they got sad.
Like I was I was still sad in high school and I was incredibly lame.
Well, it's funny to think about. Like growing up, I was really into '90s music when I was like a kid.
Yeah.
So it's like that's like them being into like.
Well, I mean,
I
I
am
wonder
to '90s
if,
music as teens are to 2000s music.
I wonder if like my older cousins who might have had an emo phase saw me listening to like A Fever You Can't Sweat Out and been like, what? Like kids still like this? We have a couple points to hit.
We
for
haven't
Twin
talked
Size
about
Mattress.
yeah, it's a good tune.
Yeah,
Done.
yeah.
Thanks for listening.
I'm gonna get this first bit set up.
This is for the snakes and the people they bite, for the friends I've made, for the sleepless nights, for the warning signs I've completely ignored. There's an amount to take, reasons to take more. It's no big surprise you turned out this way when they closed their eyes and prayed you would change, and they cut your hair and sent you away. You stopped by my house the night you escaped with tears in my eyes. I begged you to stay. You said, hey man, I love you, but no fucking shame.
Ugh.
Oof.
It hurts. Ouchie. I mean, there's really something to be said for the way that like the three of us sitting at this table hear that and we go, oh, ouch, ouchie, woo. You know, I mean, like angst and sadness and like familial hardship. It sucks, but
in
it's
a good way though. It makes you feel good, right? Do you guys feel
almost
good about
like,
listening
I feel
to it?
nostalgic.
Or maybe like more cathartic.
Cathartic is a really good word, and it sucks that these are universal experiences. But like, damn, at least we got some good riffs out of it. We had a second little bit from here that'll go ahead and play.
She hopes I'm cursed forever to sleep on a twin-size mattress in somebody's attic or basement. My whole life never graduating up in size to add another. And my nightmares will have nightmares every night, every night, every night.
Wow!
Rock and roll.
Oh, it's so good.
Rock and roll. That's what they said at the beginning.
Rock and roll.
They said rock
and
and
they
roll.
delivered.
It's such a good lyric. I don't know if you guys like feel it, but like she hopes I'm cursed forever to sleep on a twin-size mattress.
Yeah.
Never graduating. Like that's like a metaphor for like I'm gonna live in some dude's basement or attic.
Yeah, yeah.
And my nightmares will have nightmares every night.
It's really delicious to put a lyric about someone like cursing you as part of like, I don't know, bad blood that you still have with this person.
Well, and it's probably a little bit of fear on his end, right? Because he's
yeah.
like, will I sleep on a twin-size mattress every night for the rest of my life? Like,
yeah. Like this person hopes this for me. Like, is that going to be the case?
Do you guys have time for another fun fact?
Yeah.
do.
Oh, always.
I wish I could find it. I wonder if I can find it. The demo for this song is 13 minutes long.
Oh God.
That's too long.
And I was listening to the commentary on Spotify, and I didn't quite understand what he was trying to say. So the guy who mixes their tunes was like living in a cabin,
Okay.
or who like produced their tunes, and so they had to like give him cassette tapes because he was in a cabin with like very little electricity.
He didn't have
and
Wi-Fi.
and no internet. 2013, I guess. I don't know.
The dark ages.
It's so like after like 6 months of him being in the cabin, he came back with like a 4-minute version of it. And
Whoa. Before we move on to Santa Monica, I have to pee. Hi, folks. I just peed, and we are back.
We were talking about Santa Monica?
Yeah, so the next thing on our hit list is the song Santa Monica.
We're about to kill Santa Monica.
We're going to kill the song.
I also want to point out this is the song that influenced our drink pairing.
That's a very
Yeah.
good time to talk about beer.
Santa Monica is the, I don't know, 6th or 7th song on this album.
Who
Song
knows
number
anymore?
6. Song number 6.
And I think we were trying to figure out a drink pairing because we like to pair drinks on album ReBrews.
best enjoyed with.
And
we also we like to have it the drinks associate either with the album or with the artist. Like we don't want it to just be like Talon of the Hawk has the energy of a light beer. We're like, no, a Tecate, and here's why.
I mean, they just mentioned drinking Tecates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we figured that was enough of a...
And we couldn't find a Lone Star.
No, we couldn't find a one. We could also only find one 24-ounce Tecate.
Yeah, so unfortunately we're drinking 16-ounce Tecate. So we're just drinking like Tecate pints, but
Not real
the
tall
intention
boys.
was there.
Yeah.
We're drinking enough Tecates to make up for the 24-ounce claws.
Agreed.
Yeah. We'll have at least 24 ounces of Tecate in us by the end of this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have much more to say about this song other than it was the reason I wanted to pick Tecate as a drink pairing.
Well, we do have a couple of timestamps to listen to. The first being the influence for our drink pairing. So I'm going to get that set up. So this is sort of the soundbite where we were inspired.
We were forever lying on the Santa Monica beach, drinking Tecate, 24 ounces underneath the stars.
What a vibe.
If only we had 8 more ounces.
Well, grab another tiny one. Oh, wait, those are 12.
Yeah.
Fuck, our math doesn't work out.
Half of that one plus
Half of this one.
a third of that one plus...
Okay, for those of us playing along at home, Logan is pointing between the regular sized 12-ounce cans and the pint 16-ounce cans.
Some of that one.
And the two brain cells in his noggin are just absolutely slamming together.
2 12 ounces.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
duh.
Yeah,
What?
that is a 24 ounce.
We've done it. We've done it.
We've done it.
This is the second little bit that we had noted.
Confessing on the couch, I wanna be stronger than your dad was for your mom. I wanna be stronger than your dad was for your mom.
Well, here's how I know that I'm drunk. I forgot that the first time I listened to this song, which was today, I teared up at that line.
Yeah, it's such a unique type of love song. He's saying that's really powerful to say to somebody, right? Like,
Yeah,
What?
especially, well, I don't know how personal I want to get. I have daddy issues, and
we're going there.
and my dad was not strong enough for my mom. So to hear that is really like, oh fuck, like that's some kind of fucking love, you know, to recognize the trauma or the family dynamic or whatever of someone that you love and say, like, I don't want to repeat that history, I thought was really poignant. You experience whatever you experience in your lifetime with your family or with your other relationships in your life, and you hope that the bad things don't repeat themselves, especially in I don't know, when you start dating someone or whatever. Like, that's your relationship, that's your thing to build from the ground up. So you hope that you're able to build it free of that bad kind of energy, those bad habits that were present in your family dynamic prior. Anyway, that's sort of my little bit that I wanted to talk about with that song. And I totally blanked. I totally forgot that it held that kind of weight for me, but it does. And am I gonna listen to this when I'm drunk and alone and feel like crying? Maybe. The next song on our list to talk about is song number 7 on the album, The Feud. Mostly because there's a goofy little thing that you two noticed with the production of this song.
That is true. There's a cut in the guitar track in The Feud, like around the 155 mark. And I don't know why, but it was one of the things that stuck in my brain. I was like, I like noticing the little production errors because it feels very human. Like,
Yeah.
you think about albums as these, like, perfectly crafted, like, oh, we spent years in the studio and we came out with this incredible piece of art. And then there's, like, one little cut in the middle, and you're like, oh, my God, that's in there. People made this.
Yeah. Well, I'll play it. Let me get it set up real quick.
I think it's so humanizing.
I mean, the guy was producing in a cabin, I think, right? I think we found out earlier.
maybe
the woods.
his scissors just weren't sharp enough. So listen really closely. I'm going to play the song bite, and It's like a little scavenger hunt. See if you can
Little-
notice
little hiccup.
the guitar hiccup.
Probably, but I probably won't.
It's right there.
It stays in tempo though, right?
I'm gonna play it one more time because I think it's really delicious.
Probably, but I probably won't.
Just that tiny little jump. It's like a shiver. It's like whoop.
It's like, oh,
A little hiccup.
But the rest of that buildup is like goosebump inducing.
Oh, totally. Totally. There's a part a little bit later that'll go ahead and play.
The hand claps.
Oh,
It's such a good
It's
little back into the head of the tune.
how crazy that they have that tiny little weird edit and then it's this whole cool thing.
Yeah. I don't think we grabbed a soundbite, but then that song ends and like the drums just follow the time and everyone like just plays fucking whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just such a like a cool way to show like the song's about like, well, I guess I'll go. And the band's
It's a
just like,
bummer,
fuck
man.
it. Yeah.
yeah.
It's this whole thing. Oh
Yeah.
my god. Yeah. That's a really good point to bring up is the whole song is like you want this guy over me. Cool. And it sounds angry and it's like I'm hurt and this blows and then it switches to this kind of light like folksy kind of up-tempo thing. It's a bummer, man, with like little hand
man.
claps. So going from one beer song to the next, we have Lone Star. Zach, originally you were kind of making a push to have Lone Star be the beverage for the evening.
Oh, yeah, but we didn't try very hard.
No,
just
we
stopped in
didn't.
2 places.
We was
Well,
just-
I thought we could do both in case we wanted to like. It is a lot of work only drinking Tecate for like an hour.
I don't know about you. I'm having a real easy time.
that's the work we're willing to put in
yeah.
for the art.
Yeah, but Lone Star,
But it is the only skippable track IMO in my opinion.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Well,
it's just kind
Isn't
of
this
like.
one of the ones you want to talk about specifically?
Yeah, well, I want to talk about it because I wanted some
Because
hot
it's
takes.
skippable?
Yeah.
the thing is, I disagree, and I'm gonna bring it back to TikTok
All right.
because Lone Star is one of the other songs that I've seen a lot of TikToks about, and it's a song that has a lot of really interesting like theory behind it. So, I'm gonna play just sort of the beginning part of this. He's gonna talk about paying a lot of money and his pregnant girlfriend. I'm just gonna play it and pause it and talk about it a little bit.
Goodbye, future one so bright. Meet my pregnant girlfriend. Watch my bank account run dry. 437.
So, no, okay, and here's why. No. So a lot of people listen to the song and it's like yada yada yada, right? But there's this whole sort of speculation, which I'll bum you out in a little bit, but there's this speculation that it's Oh no! Logan just sent a text message. There's this speculation. Stop texting!
I'm done. That was my mouth.
Oh my god.
That one was my mouth sound.
There's this speculation that the song is this sort of autobiographical recounting of taking your girlfriend to have an abortion, and like the $437 is supposed to be the cost of that abortion, and he says like to erase all responsibility, go back to the way things were. And this is where the TikTok teens come in.
That's heavy.
Yeah,
Are
right?
the TikTok
Still
teens
kind of
having
boring,
abortions?
but heavy.
I mean, maybe, but this is another song that I see a lot of like kiddos lip syncing to. And this is kind of how I learned how people are interpreting this song is you watch these kids mouth the words to this.
She looks me dead in the eyes and says, "Hey Brian, if you still believe in the Lord above, get on your hands and knees and pray for us.
And a big thing on TikTok is the notion of like a POV, a point of view. And so someone will use this audio and say like, POV, we're in a Nazi camp that's getting broken into, and your girlfriend looks at you and says this. And then you go to the comments of this TikTok and it's like, hey, you know the song's actually about abortion, right? And that's my experience with this song. And to debunk this, I was doing some internet research because I, had heard this before I placed any personal weight on it. And it turns out that the guy who wrote it, I'm forgetting his name, Brian
Yeah.
wrote it, and he allegedly did not have any experiences like this. He just wanted to, quote, write a story. So it's not actually a thing that happened.
I was going to bring it up later,
Yeah.
I think for Everything I Own. But in the commentary he talks about, he's like, oh, this is like from an experience my friend had, or like a couple different songs. Like imagine like there was one song I think about a breakup. Like imagine like, hey, you know that breakup you had? I wrote a song about it and it sold millions of copies.
yeah.
That seems to be kind of the vibe of this album is like, we didn't really have these experiences, but we wanted to write songs about them.
Oh,
Yeah.
and they're still so real. He's a great songwriter.
Yeah.
He's
I mean,
great.
like,
he gives
he
that
is.
emotion right to you.
I think in the commentary track for Skeleton, they're like, yeah, I mean, this song is about smoking weed, but we don't smoke weed. So we just like wanted to write songs about our friends' experiences. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, but also like, what are you not telling us?
Yeah.
Like, you fell asleep in the front seat? You got too stoned? No, you didn't, Brian.
It's crazy. I mean, because like... Okay.
Synchronized sip.
You can't see what I'm seeing here in the studio, but Logan and Zach just absolutely threw their Tecates back to finish them. They're
Mine's still
like,
got a little
goddamn,
sip in there."
what is Sarah gonna say?
Very good.
It is crazy though that some of these are entirely like fictitious or someone else's story, but they feel so authentic. They feel like really well written. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of like, and I think it goes back to like just like the lyricism is like very like this is happening right now to me, and the metaphors are there definitely, but it's like a country song almost, but about being sad in the
Yeah.
Midwest.
I mean, I think that kind of like gets to the point of like people calling this like folk punk. Is like folk is like the word you use when you want to say country, but it's not like country.
It's not bad.
It's like a little bit too millennial for country. A little bit too what's the word I'm thinking of?
Socialist,
No,
liberal.
what's the word for like a man who has a beard but it's very well groomed. It's very clean.
Lumberjack, metrosexual.
Metrosexual. Yes. It's too metrosexual for country, so it's folk.
Interesting
man.
point.
That's funny.
I'm gonna crack another beer.
Go for it.
Please do.
Whoa!
Nice.
Nice.
This
Cheers,
is what
dears.
this podcast is about.
All right, so we've covered most of this album.
The last song that fucking no one wants to talk about except me, but we're gonna talk about it, is the second to last song on the album,
Big Flip.
Backflip. I only want to talk about this because
Because they gave the bass player an intro lick. That's the only reason I want to talk about
well,
it.
that's why Zach wants to talk about it. I'm not a musician. I'm not. I don't really work in music beyond like visual arts within the music space. I'm like a photographer, But I definitely think there's so much weight to the way a song makes you feel. And being someone who like moved from their hometown to Chicago and went to like cool, like crusty fucking alternative parties and like smoked weed in someone's fucking basement. Like there's a really specific energy to this song that I really love. And we'll also play it so Zach can hear the bass.
They just gave that to him. They just gave it to him like that, man.
They were like, you can go bum 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 bum.
Play half a scale. Why not? Why not?
Sure.
You get 4 notes, man.
You
That's
can
all
play
you.
Roots all album. Play scale.
But I want to listen to the first verse because again, it was my first time listening to the song, and it made me feel so good and so nostalgic, especially being in quarantine, like for going to this like weird random party with a bunch of like friends of friends, and you're like drinking PBR in someone's kitchen.
I see a tattoo on my right thigh that I will probably regret one day. Yeah, I will probably regret one day. But now I am happy to be bonding in a kitchen with my friends.
Delicious! You're getting
So
a
good.
stick and poke tattoo and smoking weed in someone's kitchen.
This album was I think part of the reason that I didn't care for this album very much was when
Is
I
that
was
true?
when I'm
Oh my
sorry.
goodness.
Okay, part of the reason I
Whoa.
didn't care for the front bottoms very much when I was younger.
Okay, we're talking like what, in high school?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah. All of the kids that listened to this album were way cooler than I was, and they were
Probably. I
all like
believe it.
giving each other stick and pokes. And I think I was just jealous. I was like, man, I didn't have a lot of these experiences. I didn't like get stick and pokes. I didn't like fall
Well.
asleep in vans smoking weed.
I think
Neither did they, apparently.
Good point.
I think, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the three of us at this table kind of grew into cool with moving. Is that true? Is that accurate?
Do you know how uncool Missouri is?
Do you know how uncool fucking Wisconsin is? I really think, and I think that's why music like this makes me feel some kind of fucking way, is it makes me feel like I am 17 and I know that I'm leaving my hometown, and I know that we all live in Chicago. I know that I'm moving to Chicago, and I know that it's cooler, and I think about my younger self, and I think about the experiences that I've had as a relatively alternative person living in Chicago, and like my younger self would have thought that I was so fucking cool.
Nice.
And that's why this song makes me feel really good.
Would you agree that this music helps you like live out a cool fantasy where you like are putting yourself in the position of the singer and the lyrics like saying all of this stuff, and you're like, oh man, yeah, like
I think it affirms it. I mean, like, I don't have any stick and pokes, but the line about like a tattoo that I'll probably regret one day. Like, I'm a tattooed person, and my parents they're fine about it, but for the most part, they're like, "What about your wedding?" And they think that I'm gonna regret every tattoo I've ever gotten, and right now I don't, and maybe I will, but thinking about like bonding in a kitchen with my friends, like it's a really good energy, that I'm thankful to have experienced as a young adult.
I just now like conceptualize that thought. Every party you're at, you end up in the kitchen. I don't know what it is about being at a party.
That's where the cool kids hang out.
But yeah, I mean, you end up in
Yeah.
the kitchen because maybe that like that's where the fridge is and that's where the drinks are, and you're gonna
And you
finish
get
your
stuck
drink.
in a conversation.
and then you just back and forth to the fridge in your conversation or whatever.
Yeah.
But no realer line than like talking to your friends in the kitchen at a party.
I'm bonding with them. It makes me feel really, really good. And maybe I'm just nostalgic because I can't, go to a party with the friends that I'm not quarantining with, or the really small circle of people that I've been able to see in person during quarantine. But like thinking about the really specific energy of like loud music is playing in another room and you're grabbing a PBR from the fridge and for whatever reason you're deciding to talk to your friend about like their final project for their photography major, and it makes me feel really good.
Yeah, I love the song for the same reason, but a different lyric, and it's breathe in, hold in, now let it out.
Oh, this is the other really important part about this song is smoking big weed, baby. But yeah, there's a lot of lines on this song about like maybe outgrowing kind of the notion of like being a stoner. But until then, I'm just going to try and relish in it. And I think the line is like, feel all the effects. And it's it's sick.
So good.
I mean,
It's
I almost
really
feel
sick.
like it's more of like I'm gonna commit to the status quo, even if it's not exactly how I like personally feel, because I don't have the lines pulled up. You have the lines pulled up?
Here you go. There you go.
Logan, go back to your mic.
No, it's okay. I'm looking at the lines.
No, the lines are important. Which one are you trying to find? I'll control F.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so he's like, he's going to realize he doesn't need it because it's not actually who he is.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, all of your cool friends are in the kitchen smoking weed.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not that's like who you are as a person.
And whether or not who you're going to be in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. You're like...
This song is just all over the place because the end line is like talking about being in a pickup truck so your boyfriend can't see me. I don't understand this one. This was the second list of possibly skippable.
I really, really like this song.
I agree. I feel like this is the song that like makes me think about high school and be like, there were a lot of things I did to like hang out with my friends because my friends were cooler than I was.
Yeah. I'm going to do a little bit of a sidebar, but there's an Into It Over It EP that I really, really loved. It was a split that they did with the band Koji. And on the album, it's 5 tracks, and each track is a neighborhood of Chicago. Like, that's what the titles are. And the first time I listened to it was my first summer ever living here. I had moved to Logan Square, and there's a song on the album called Logan Square, and I thought there was something so fucking cool about having specifically like my experience reflected in a song, and having my neighborhood and having something that I was a part of be reflected in a song. Because when you're in high school in southeastern Wisconsin and you work at Party City and you do competitive dance, like no one writes songs about that. And I think there was a part of me that really yearned to have that sort of poetic alternative experience. It was really cool to see. And this makes me feel the way that I felt when I first listened to that.
I think that's kind of one of the overriding themes of this album.
Yeah.
Is nostalgia and putting yourself in a place that you were 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And being like, remember how things were, whether they were good or bad. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of nostalgia people tend to be like, these are the good thoughts that I had.
The rose-colored thoughts.
Yeah, but a lot of it is just the really shitty stuff that you had to go through to get to where you are currently.
Yeah.
And I think plenty of our like early childhood or like high school memories, like they just kind of suck.
Yeah, totally.
This album is like, remember all of the awful things.
All the bad times.
Yeah. I agree with that completely. But I think it also highlights some of the really good parts.
Yeah, totally.
It doesn't rose color the nostalgia 100%.
Totally.
That is a really cool point. Never thought about it.
And I think another thing, and this is kind of my final point, I think, regarding this song particularly and the nostalgia that I feel with this song is the memories that I have about, you know, smoking weed and bonding in a kitchen might be with people that I've outgrown or people that I might not smoke weed in a kitchen with anymore, you know? But to know that those experiences are kind of under your belt, to know that that's the way that your life was and the way that you did life with people is really something that I remember fondly. Even if you know, the people that I did that with, I might not remember fondly anymore. I still reflect on those experiences and think that those experiences were very formative and cool.
Cool.
Nice.
Do you guys have any rappy-uppy thoughts?
We're just going to skip this last song because it's bad.
Yeah, sorry.
It's
sorry,
fine.
but your
Everything
album...
I own is fine.
No, they in the commentary, he's like, yeah, we wanted to pick a really strong opening or a really strong ending for the album. And I had like a knee-jerk reaction. We're like, bad.
It's like, you could have picked a better one. It's fine. So the one line that I liked from Everything I Own is, who's going to push my wheelchair when I'm sick? I thought that was something really like poignant. And again, like, I'm just an emotional kind of person, but like kind of wonder, the whole song is kind of about wondering whether or not you should end a relationship that may or may not be the best for either of you. But that line is like, if I give this up, am I completely on my own? I thought that was something worth noting.
I think there are several points in this album that are like, this relationship's not really working. Mm-hmm. Is it better to like continue it or call it quits? Or
Yeah.
Some of the main points of this album are relationship based, and some of them are nostalgia based.
Yeah.
And that's all I got. That's all I
Damn.
got. But we also wanted to reward this album with an album ReBrew award, a ReBrewski, if you will.
ReBrewski.
A ReBrewski, if you will.
This is kind of gonna feel like a yearbook superlative. So the one we're giving Talon of the Hawk by the Front Bottoms is most likely to smoke weed in a car award.
If anyone from the band
Congratulations.
would like to come and claim the award,
we'll print it out from a Microsoft Word document.
It's actually just, the award is just an open can of Tecate.
Yeah.
like glued onto a piece of wood.
Thank you so much for listening. If you have a suggestion for an album that we should rebrew, let us know. And maybe we'll do it. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.